G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kaitlyn and I'm an American living in beautiful Sydney, Australia. As many of you know, Sydney is in New South Wales. I have traveled a little bit around Australia. I've been to Western Australia, I've been to Victoria, I've been to Tasmania, I've been to the ACT as well. So I've traveled a little bit all over Australia, even though there is so much more to see and do here than just the little bit that I've seen. I feel like I have scratched the surface for what Australia has to offer. So today we're checking out a video from here to there, all 8 states and territories in Australia ranked worst to best. I have a feeling I know how this list is going to go, but let's see what they have to say. So grab a bicky, grab a cuppa, or if you're like me, maybe grab a glass of wine, and let's get right into this video.
Do you love to curse, enjoy large empty swaths of extremely hot desert, and want to increase your risk of skin cancer? Well, then you might be a feral camel, in which case you're likely already in Australia. And if you're not, why haven't you moved here? With gorgeous beaches, incredible cities, great healthcare and education, and some of the most unique ecosystems and wildlife not found anywhere else on Earth, the land down under is one of the best countries to live in. But while this giant island continent country, is around the same size as the contiguous United States, it has just 1/13 the population. And over half of the 25.9 million Australians reside in just 3 cities.
It drives me nuts when I point out the fact that Australia is about the same size as the mainland US, and somehow these geography experts are suddenly talking about how no, it's not even close to it. The US is so much bigger. I mean, if you factor in Alaska and Hawaii, yes, it's bigger. If you're going by like square mile and whatnot, yes, it's bigger, but size-wise, it's very similar to Australia and the mainland US. They're pretty comparable size-wise. So if you're just looking for a rough estimate of size comparison, that's probably the best way to do it. The mainland US and Australia.
Doesn't Australia have like 6 states and 2 major territories? Why don't people spread out more? Well, Mr. Camel, because most of the country gets so hot that you'll end up looking like this guy if you spend 5 minutes outside. So unless you actually are one of the 1 million feral camels that call the outback home, you'll probably want to stick with 85% of Australians who live within 50 kilometers of the coast. Doesn't like every state touch the ocean though? How do I know which is best? Find out as we rank all 8 Australian states and territories from worst to best. And let's hit 5,000 likes for a video on the 10 best cities in Australia.
So we'll hit the like button on this video and let's see what number 8 is.
Number 8. Actually, we're going to start off with a quick honorable mention. The external territories. That's right, Norfolk Island, Christmas Island, the Cocos Islands, and a few other islands that no one lives on. I didn't forget about you. Now, don't get me wrong. These aren't terrible places to live and are breathtaking with plenty of endemic species and extravagant landscapes. Christmas Island's nickname is actually Australia's Galapagos due to its unique red crabs, booby birds, flying foxes, and hundreds of other animals and fauna found throughout the tropical jungle and surrounding coral reef. And the largest and most inhabitable of these islands, Norfolk Island, is home to the tallest pine trees in the world, beautiful beaches and rolling pastures, and some of the rarest birds. If you don't mind a very slow-paced lifestyle with few modern conveniences, and most things being more expensive as they have to be shipped in, the external territories might seem like paradise. But considering they all have a combined population of only around 5,000, the extremely isolated lifestyle isn't for most.
Ooh, I could not do that. I need to live near a city. I need to live near people. I don't need to necessarily live like in the middle of a city. Like I don't need to live super close to the CBD or anything, but I need to be around people. I could not do that. That level of isolation with so few people around me, even though nature is beautiful there, it's breathtaking, I simply couldn't. That is just not for me.
Actual number 8, Northern Territory. If you're strictly looking to rake in the dough and don't mind the lack of infrastructure or seclusion from the rest of the country, the Northern Territory might be for you. The median household income is the 3rd highest of any state or territory at 115 grand, and the median home value is the lowest at just 515 grand. Plus, there's no property tax. But remember how I said a lot of Australia is uninhabitable? Well, a huge chunk of the most uninhabitable land is here. The southern half of the territory has a climate similar to the Sahara Desert, and while Darwin and the coast is a bit more livable with tons of rainfall during the wet season, it also gets very hot and humid, and that rain often turns into cyclones and extreme flooding. So, despite accounting for 17.5% of the country's landmass, less than 250,000 residents, or 1% of Australia, actually lives in the NT. And it's the only state or territory which had a net population decrease over the past year. But the lack of people is also why many love living here. From Litchfield and Kakadu to Uluru and Watarka National Parks, the territory is home to so much stunning wide-open wilderness that you can experience all to yourself. Although you might not want to be too alone, because not only does the Northern Territory have the most saltwater crocodiles in Australia, it's also by far the most dangerous state or territory, with a violent crime rate 323% above the national average.
What? That's crazy. I had no idea it was that high in the Northern Territory. I'm shocked. I would not have expected that. That's mind-boggling to me. I mean, that high of a crime rate compared to the rest of the country, and for a place with so few people, it seems like that something's happening to just about everybody up there. Between the crocs and the crime rate, no, you won't catch me living up in Darwin. You won't catch me in the Northern Territory. Maybe to visit, definitely not to stay.
Number 7, South Australia. While the Northern Territory is home to some of the highest wages in the nation, South Australia has the second lowest median household income at just $98,500 and the highest unemployment rate at 4.4%. But if you're someone who prefers the simple life and community over vibrancy and wealth, the Festival State is a wonderful place to settle down. It's home to so many charming suburbs and beach towns, over 5,000 kilometers of pristine coastline, the best wine in the country, and hardly any crime.
The best wine in the country, that's kind of subjective. Personally, I have a thing for Margaret River wine. That's just me, though, to each their own. Personally, I think Western Australia has the best wines, but I'm a little biased.
With below average fuel, grocery, and utility costs, and a median home value of just $565,000, South Australia is actually the cheapest state. And Adelaide is the cheapest capital. Sure, Adelaide's also likely the most boring city with over 1 million residents, and a bit behind the times with supermarkets still closing at 5 p.m. on weekends, for example, but that's also by design. Adelaiders love that their home offers all of the amenities of a city, with great food, museums, parks, festivals, and a few unique attractions like the Adelaide Central Market, while still maintaining its small town charm with hardly any traffic and where everyone knows everyone. Not to mention, it's easy to navigate with no toll roads and a beautiful beach or waterfall hike being just a 20-minute drive from the city center.
Okay, if you're from South Australia, particularly Adelaide, do you like that it's slow there? Do you like that it's that slow-paced? I don't think I could. You are near a big city. It seems nice, but it does seem just a little too slow for me, personally. But that, again, that's just comes down to people's taste and people's preference. Mark would probably enjoy that a little bit more than I would. He seems to like a little bit more of that slow-paced, open lifestyle, whereas I prefer something a little bit not quite hectic, but something a little bit closer to a busier city than that.
Number 6, Queensland. Queensland is Australia's most popular holiday destination.
I'm surprised that Queensland's 6. I thought it would have been... So I would have thought the ranking would have been Northern Territory, South Australia, Canberra, Tasmania, Western Australia, Queensland, Victoria, and then New South Wales. That's how I thought that this ranking would have gone, so I'm surprised that Queensland's so far down on the list.
And for good reason. It's incredibly safe, has the most national parks, and with scenery as diverse as the Great Barrier Reef, Daintree Rainforest, Porcupine Gorge, and Lamington, Girrawin, Goringan, under a volcanic Blacktown Tablelands, and Great Sandy National Parks, not to mention the only Everglades ecosystem outside of Florida, it's debatably the most beautiful state. And if you prefer a more chill vacation, the Sunshine State also offers plenty of theme parks and resorts in the Gold Coast, and over 13,000 kilometers of jaw-dropping beaches. So while many used to only holiday here, that's quickly changing as more people learn of Queensland's exceptional small cities and towns. In fact, it's now the fastest growing state and one of only 2 states where over half the population doesn't live in the capital. And it's not because Brisbane sucks. It's actually often ranked as the most livable city in Australia, as it's not nearly as congested or expensive as Sydney or Melbourne, while still offering legit big city amenities and experiencing rapid growth. especially with the Olympics coming in 2032. But while Queensland's economy is the second fastest growing of any state, it still has some catching up to do, with the third lowest median household income of just $105,000. Because of this, and the fact that the housing market is booming with a median home cost of $788,000, the Sunshine State has the highest poverty rate at 13.5%. Number 5. Tasmania. Tasmania feels nothing like the rest of Australia. And that's because it isn't. An island located around 200 kilometers south of the mainland, the smallest state by both size and population, is home to so many otherworldly and unique landscapes and species not found anywhere else. Not to mention, it rarely ever gets hot and has the cleanest air on Earth.
That's true. Some of the cleanest air, some of the cleanest water on Earth. It's absolutely beautiful there. Hobart is gorgeous, but again, it's so slow, kind of like South Australia. If you want some more of that like city life, a little bit more of that vibrancy, Tasmania is probably not going to be the best place to go, but nonetheless, Tasmania is still absolutely beautiful. I loved visiting there. I'm hoping that we can get there in 2023. Tasmania is absolutely gorgeous.
But not only is Tasmania an adventurous paradise, with places like Cradle Mountain and Mount Field and the Bay of Fires all being a short drive from pretty much anywhere on the island, it's also home to so many delightful small towns with some of the friendliest people you will ever meet. And the capital, Hobart, punches well above its weight with tons of history and beautiful architecture, great restaurants, bars, and cafes, and Mona, one of the best museums in the country. Sure, there's little in terms of bustling city life, but if you're looking to slow down and relax while being surrounded by unspoiled nature, Tasmania is perfect. Well, if you're retired or work online, because while the economy is currently the fastest growing, the median household income is still the lowest at just $89,600, and the unemployment rate is 4.3%. At least the cost of living isn't too bad, with a median home price of $691,000, plenty of cheap high quality produce, and low energy bills due to most of the island running on hydroelectricity. Number 4, New South Wales.
Okay, that's a lot lower on the list than I thought. Honestly, I did not think New South Wales would be number 4. I thought that would be somewhere in the top 2. I'm kind of surprised.
Australia's oldest and most populated state, home to Sydney, the most populated city. But while Sydney's big city amenities, multiculturalism, high quality of life, and beautiful beaches and harbors speak for themselves, this great state is so much more than just its capital. New South Wales spans over 800,000 square kilometers and is packed with 18 diverse bioregions ranging from sandy deserts to lush rainforests, rugged mountains, rolling hills, grasslands, rivers, and coast. Yeah, did you know this, and this are all within a 2-hour drive of Sydney? And if both big city life and serene scenery aren't your jam, there's also no shortage of incredible mountain or beach towns, as well as one of the best small cities in Newcastle. As a whole, New South Wales is likely the most balanced province and truly offers something for every type of lifestyle.
Then why is it only ranked number 4? I mean, if there's so much there and it has so much to offer, is this going to go off real estate price? Because I can kind of understand it then if you're going to base it off of real estate price. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to afford a home in New South Wales.
Then why the heck is it only number 4? Well, because it's bloody expensive, with the highest median home cost of $1.22 million. Now, to be fair, Sydney does have an excellent and diverse economy, so wages across the state aren't bad, with a median household income of $114,000 and the lowest unemployment rate of just 2.9%. But living in Sydney also means terrible traffic, everywhere being crowded, and some of the worst nightlife for a major city. Number 3, the Australian Capital Territory. Covering less than 2,400 square kilometers and consisting of just Canberra, its suburbs, and Namadgi National Park, it's no surprise that many Australians never even think of visiting the place. And that's honestly a shame, because sure, Canberra isn't exactly the most exciting city, seeing as it was entirely planned with the sole purpose of serving as Australia's capital, but it's still one of the most livable cities in the world. With the second lowest crime and unemployment rate in the country, the highest median household income at $150,000, and by far the lowest poverty rate of just 5.4%, Canberrans have very little to worry about, especially since they're close to so many gorgeous mountains with the beautiful Molonglo River running right through town.
So going through Canberra is absolutely gorgeous. Mark and I would drive through there a little bit while he was at work. Canberra is a beautiful place to drive through. But again, not a lot going on. It's a little bit slower. If you're not really into politics and whatnot, there's definitely jobs out there. I mean, it's not like there's nothing out there, but that seems to be the main focus of Canberra is Parliament. Also, shout out to Mick, one of my subscribers who had actually emailed me and when I did this video about Remembrance Day here in Australia. Apparently Canberra, the War Memorial there is supposed to be absolutely amazing and incredible to see. Mark and I would love to be able to get down there sometime soon. I don't know if Mark has ever seen it, but I would love to. I think that would make an amazing day trip to go down to Canberra and see it, especially because it's a little bit of a ride for us, but it's not too bad. But I can't imagine somebody from like Queensland or Tasmania or something coming all the way up to Canberra just to see that for like a long weekend or a holiday. It doesn't really seem like much of a holiday destination for most Aussies.
But while the ACT checks all the statistical boxes, a lot of the city just feels empty with nothing to do if you don't know any locals. The CBD is mostly fields, office buildings, and roundabouts, and while there are walkable areas with shops and restaurants, such as Braddon, Canberra feels a lot more like a collection of spread out suburbs with a few town centers than an actual city. Although, since it is the capital, there are a ton of excellent museums, galleries, and gardens. But a fair warning, Canberra is one of the few Australian cities which gets a true 4 seasons, meaning the winters actually get cold.
I wouldn't mind that. I was just talking to Mark earlier today. Apparently it snowed this morning somewhere not too far from us in New South Wales. It was very cold this morning for some reason for December, which is quite odd. But I actually miss snow a little bit. I miss the cold snow. I miss a little bit of that wintry feel. I don't necessarily want to live in a place that's super cold. Like I couldn't imagine living in Tasmania. That's way too cold for me. But it'd be nice to pop over somewhere for a long weekend, somewhere where it's snowing or somewhere where it's actually really chilly and feels like winter. Obviously not in December because it's summer, but you know, maybe in like July or August, someplace where it feels like winter.
Number 2. Victoria. When you think of Victoria, you probably only think of Melbourne, aka the true cultural capital of Australia with the best coffee on earth. Seriously, prove me wrong. But while it's nearly impossible to get bored in Melbourne with its outstanding music and art scene and so many bustling alleyways filled with trendy bars, restaurants, clubs, and cafes, the Garden State is also so much more than just a hipster haven. From skiing in Falls Creek to the penguins of Phillip Island to the stunning ridges of Grampians National Park and cascading waterfalls and rainforests of Yarra Ranges and Otway National Parks, Victoria may only account for 3% of Australia's landmass, but there is no shortage of sensational scenery. Not to mention, it's by far the safest state and home to the Great Ocean Road, the most beautiful drive in the country.
Oh, I so want to do that. That's like, so I'm not pumped about getting my bike license. It would be nice, but it's not like the absolute biggest priority for me. It would be nice, but to ride along the Great Ocean Road on a motorbike, that has to be amazing. That has to be like a bucket list item if I'm actually able to get my license, if I'm actually comfortable enough to ride around on a motorbike. I'd love to take a week out and do that. That would be absolutely stunning.
But 75% of Victoria does live in Melbourne for a reason. With a stellar job market, world-renowned universities, tons of history, a hip and accepting culture, an excellent public transit, nightlife, and infrastructure, it makes sense that Victoria's capital is growing faster than Sydney and will likely eclipse its population by 2050. Especially since it's cheaper. Although it is still pretty darn expensive, with the statewide median home price being $966,000. Oh, and did I mention that Melbourne can get 4 seasons in 1 hour? Yeah, one time the temperature dropped 10 degrees Celsius in 3 minutes. Now before we get to number 1, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and let me know what you think the best state or territory is, and why. But without further ado, number 1, Western Australia. Bigger doesn't always mean better, but Australia's largest state by total area, accounting for nearly 1/3 of the country, is also the best.
Mark, I've said it a few times, I'll say it again, can we please move out somewhere towards like Perth? Because apparently not only is the housing a little bit more affordable in Western Australia than it will probably ever be in New South Wales again. I mean, come on, this list says it all, let's go.
Surrounded by 21,000 square kilometers of captivating coast, Western Australia is home to so much enchanting, untouched wilderness. But the best thing about living here is that it's still incredibly affordable, with a median home value of just $630,000, while also having the second highest median household income of $116,000. Now, this is mainly due to an abundance of mining jobs, which aren't necessarily the most stable. But Perth's job market is growing and diversifying too. And speaking of Perth, it's likely the most underrated capital, with a hip music and art scene in Fremantle, excellent suburbs and beaches, solid public transit, above average nightlife and restaurants, and a relaxed, stress-free lifestyle. Outside of the state's extreme isolation, with Perth actually being the most isolated big city in the world, there's just not much wrong with Western Australia. And that's why it's our best place to live in this fine country.
So did this list surprise you guys at all? I have to admit, it did surprise me. There were some that I weren't expecting to be so low, some I weren't expecting to be so high. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you agree with this list at all? Do you think there are some points that he absolutely missed the mark on, some things he should have included? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. So that's it for this video, you guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. I really do appreciate the support, you guys. It means so much to me. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.